Well, hello everyone and welcome to the pre-season episode of the F1 22 Driver Career Mode Season 4. If you missed the previous episode at Brazil, then you would have missed at the end of that episode, Porsche and Red Bull have split up. Now that's obviously going to have ramifications because we had contact from Porsche. They wanted us to be part of their team going forwards. Now they're going to supply two teams. I will get to the second team in a moment, but the first team that they're going to supply is McLaren, who Mercedes have decided not to supply any customers. So all we've got to do is sign our contract with McLaren and negotiate with McLaren, which we have done. So McLaren is where we are going to be going, powered by Porsche as well. In terms of our perk fund, not that it really matters, we are going to look at engine wear just to try and save parts. The calendar is making some changes as well. Obviously, Spain moves out as well. As in comes in the Netherlands, Mexico misses out and replaced by Portugal and also Abu Dhabi as well. So here we are, McLaren for Season 4, the fastest team on the grid as well. Again, we can't do a lot of upgrades, we haven't got enough to do that. We've got an ERS upgrade, we're full out on the aero side, which is good, so this car's going to be good in a straight line. We don't really need to worry about durability, I don't think, to begin with. We've got a couple of brakes upgrades, those two will be crucial to get on as soon as possible to make sure that we can do so. But obviously we are the fastest. Look how Red Bull have plummeted, Ferrari have plummeted as well. To be fair, bearing in mind this is pre-season, obviously the teams can still bring further upgrades between now and the first race in Bahrain, which should be out later in the week, on Thursday as well. But you know, Ferrari have lost, but not that they had anything in the first place, as well as Red Bull, who have fallen behind Alpine. Now it's time though for the car reveal for this season's challenge. So here is our challenger for Season 4, powered by Porsche. Can this McLaren Porsche successfully defend our World Championship? We'll have to wait and see. 16 races to come, of course. But the big news, of course, comes in our form of our teammate. Lando Norris has decided to run away from the team, as has Daniel Ricciardo. So, you know, McLaren were a little bit stretched for somebody to partner me, but fortunately for them, they have an ace up their sleeve, a rookie driver in the form of Oscar Piastri, who will be joining the team for his debut season. Now, you might be wondering, does Piastri have what it takes to be able to A, fight me for the World Championship, and B, just get those race wins that McLaren desperately need and have a fight go for the Constructors' Championship as well? We'll have to wait and see. The other team that Porsche will be powering is Williams. Williams haven't had a great time of it since I left them back in the end of Season 1, but they have been able to stabilise as well, and they're not the slowest team on the grid. Obviously the problem that they have is that Albon continues to score all their points. They need to unlock Yuki Tsunoda's potential because he has been terrible for Williams, has yet to score any points for them whatsoever. Can this team progress further up the field and score consistent points? Porsche will be hoping that having Williams partner with them, especially the fact that this is the main Porsche team that Porsche have brought a stake in, unlike McLaren, which they haven't, then there are promises that Porsche and Williams can deliver the future that they want to the top of the grid. On to the Renault power cars now, and starting where Lando Norris has gone. Yes, Norris has moved to Alpine to replace the outgoing Max Verstappen, who became very frustrated with where the Alpine Watch of Pace at the end of season 3. Now obviously this is a huge gamble by Norris. He doesn't even know whether or not he'll be able to take that Alpine and continue the work of overdriving really that Alpine compare to Esteban Ocon. Obviously though, Norris does bring his own good amount of sponsors with him, so that is definitely a bonus for Alpine, but whether or not they'll be able to retain him and give Norris the car that he needs to challenge for the title, because he was the runner-up last season. Now the other thing for Alpine and Renault is that they are supplying more than one team this season for the first time on this game. First in the form of Haas. Now Haas have still got their very underwhelming lineup of Mick Schumacher and Nicholas Latifi, neither of which have actually got really close to scoring consistent points. However, there is a light at the end of the tunnel for Haas, because Haas have an ace up their sleeve in the form of a potential new engine partner, Audi. Now there are already signs that Audi are approaching the team with the form of new sponsors in Bosch and Adidas, so nevertheless the future could be promising for Haas, but for now they're sort of in an intermediate season. They've left Ferrari power because Ferrari didn't like the fact that they wanted to put other junior drivers in that team, which Haas refused to do so. So powered by Renault happy to escape the fact that they don't want to power Red Bull. The other team that Renault will be powering is AlphaTauri. Now AlphaTauri of course is not a junior team of Red Bull anymore. They are a sister team. They are owned by Red Bull, but very much AlphaTauri get to choose their own sponsors and absolutely everything. And they approached Renault when Renault accepted to give them on a short-term basis, as long as they don't have to supply Red Bull, which was agreed upon. Now obviously for AlphaTauri, they have sort of slumped down the order since season 2. We had a very successful season where we had Gasly winning races, we had myself winning multiple races actually. The question is where do they go from there? They got Kevin Magnussen in as well, so K-Mag and Gasly is a good solid midfield lineup, but nevertheless whether or not they can start scoring those consistent points with how competitive the top part of the field is yet to be seen. They are hoping that their car will be able to deliver some solid points and be able to fight at least for 6th place in the championship. Mercedes are next up. Now they've retained Hamilton and Russell, but obviously the big things are elsewhere for them. Their car hasn't been great. They've lost yet another big sponsor in the form of BWT. They got Lufthansa though as well, and UBS. If those two can stay and are happy with Mercedes' progress, then they'll be happy. Obviously they have an advantage because they're now above Red Bull on the R&D chart. Whether or not they can stay there is yet to be seen, but obviously there are rumours. Of course Mercedes could be looking to sell the team, make the team into a customer team, for example, be powered by engine supplied by somebody else. That is yet to be seen. For now they need to concentrate on consistency, especially for Hamilton, who has suffered in this career mode of late and has been underperforming compared to his teammate George Russell. For Ferrari, they had a pretty miserable season 3. Only won 2 races, but at times they had the fastest car and they've yet to deliver. Vettel, no longer the man that he was in his prime, pretty much past his best. Only a matter of time before he considers retirement from this sport. He's still joined alongside by Carlos Sainz, who did win 2 races for Ferrari, but hasn't been able to have that consistency to be able to challenge at all for any title, let alone have a teammate that's been able to push him towards the Drivers' Championship title, which of course leads to Ferrari languishing way down in the Constructors' title as well. Whether or not they'll be able to move now under new team boss Frederick Vasseur replaces Mattia Binotto, we'll have to wait and see. Ferrari also spent a big amount of their time trying to help out Alfa Romeo. A lot of the sponsors for Alfa Romeo joined up and agreed that if Alfa Romeo needed to change their driver lineup, Ferrari did not want their driver lineup to change. They were happy with the Zhou and Schwartzman partnership and stood in. Pretty much the large majority of Alfa Romeo's sponsors walked, and of course Sauber weren't particularly happy with this and threatened to dump Alfa Romeo, Ferrari and Schwartzman out of the team. However, Ferrari stepped in, they reassured Sauber, and they went out and gained the team sponsors, most of which of course relating to some of their outfits as well. Obviously the team finished bottom of the Constructors' Championship. Sadly had some times where they were in the running in the top 10 and had either crashes or reliability. They'll be looking to improve reliability for season 4. And that brings us on to the penultimate team, and supplying themselves for the first time, Aston Martin. Aston Martin have been building their own engine, which is possibly why other parts of their departments have suffered, as all the resources have been put in place in making a reliable and stable engine. The engine is apparently a little bit down on power, but obviously Aston Martin are working on bringing upgrades for season 5 at the latest. Really, obviously they've retained their same driver lineup of Lance Stroll, of course, and alongside him will be Bottas. Bottas had been rumoured to be leaving the team after a pretty dire run of form, but has been reassured by Lawrence Stroll that they will have the car in the future to deliver him potentially race victories. And that brings me on to Red Bull. Now Red Bull will be powered by Aston Martin, a 1-year deal. Lawrence Stroll viewed Red Bull as a good yardstick for Aston Martin to aim for as well. Now obviously Red Bull have got a driver vacancy at the departure of myself, and they filled it with the one-time world champion Max Verstappen. Verstappen returns to the team after 2 seasons at Alpine. Now obviously he'll be joined by Charles Leclerc and what arguably could be the strongest lineup on the grid. But the engine of the Aston Martin is rumoured to be down, and whether the combination of that and the adjustments they've had to make to fit the Aston Martin engine in the back possibly could mean that it's quite a few races before Red Bull are able to challenge for race victories with either Verstappen or Leclerc. But nevertheless, this is possibly going to be a building season for Red Bull, as they look to potentially either look at trying to get Honda back to supply them, continue with a supply with Aston Martin for both of the teams, or try to supply themselves. Those are the options that Red Bull will look at throughout season 4 and make a decision ahead of season 5. And that's where I'm going to leave today's episode. If you have enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and you see plenty more F1 22 driver promo videos. As I said earlier, episode 1 of the Bahrain Grand Prix will be out on Thursday. So there'll be 2 episodes a week. As I say, I'm looking forward to seeing how this calendar works out. Obviously we've got Portugal coming up. But for some reason, that's the default. I haven't done any modding to the calendar order whatsoever. That is the default position of the Portuguese Grand Prix on the F1 game, which is a bit ridiculous because you thought it'd be going in that gap where the Russian Grand Prix was, but that's the game for you. So yes. Anyway, enough about that. I hope you have enjoyed it, and if you did, I'll see you next time. Take care. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy your day, and goodbye.